Just do it. Visualize, think about it, measure it, make a decision that you thought through, that you're comfortable with, and just do it. Just action it, and you'll see the benefits once you're on the other side. It's challenging, but I think that is where the value is. It must be challenging. It must be a learning opportunity for it to be fruitful, for you to take care of it.
Hey friends, have you ever wondered how you can pay off your mortgage faster? Or maybe you like to help your kids get into the real estate market, or better yet, retire with some passive income. Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Sylvia Ho Mortgage Podcast. My name is Sylvia. I'm here to teach you how to achieve your goals simply by owning just one more property.
Hey everyone, it's Sylvia here. Welcome to the J.O.M.P Podcast. Today we have Armel here who just purchased his first investment property out in the Ottawa area. And his advice is about good debt versus bad debt. His advice talks about, how his mindset changed from, having debt is actually a good thing, and how he did his research and how he read books and educated himself. His biggest advice is just do it. For Armel, his big why in getting into the J.O.M.P program and buying his first real estate investment property is for his family. If you're interested in getting into the J.O.M.P program, all it takes is 15 minutes. Go to sylviaho.ca and book a time with me, and let's chat and let's work out some numbers and see if this is for you. Hey everyone, we're here joined by Armel. He just closed on his first rental property. Armel, how do you feel?
I feel great. I feel like it was a great accomplishment for me and my family. And it's exciting. It's a whole opportunity to learn new things, a new challenge. And I look forward to it.
Beautiful. Now, why did you want to do this in the first place? So you guys are pretty young, right? You guys just had your little one. You guys are pretty young. Most of my clients are between 45 to 55. Talk to me. Why did you guys want to do this?
Exactly because we are young. Now, these are our earning years. These are, the beginnings of your peak years. The ability to propel yourself is much more likely now. So we wanted to start early. We wanted to look back when we're 40, 45, 50, having taken the opportunities early so that we may get the time to enjoy much more free time together in the years when we don't have the capacity to work so hard.
Right. Now, you guys did all the hard work, right? The only way we were able to do this is because you already own a property, right? And you guys are both very successful at your careers, right? So talk to me about, the whole J.O.M.P program. A lot of people are scared because they're like, what? You want me to go into more debt? How does that make sense, Sylvia? So talk to me. How did that make you feel when I first introduced it to you?
You know what? My eyes kind of lit up because you were speaking a language that I understood. Both my wife and I, we invest a lot of time learning. We've taken courses, my wife especially, courses in financial management, in understanding debt and how debt is used and the benefits of debt. So for us, it isn't necessarily scary to jump into debt. What it is scary is to jump into debt not knowing how you're going to use it, or not knowing what kind of debt it is. So there's certain debts that we think is a good tool, is a good lever. Mortgages are one.
Okay. So essentially you're essentially talking about good debt versus bad debt, right?
Right, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how did you first come to me? What were you looking from me specifically? And how did you get to come to me? It was through someone else, right?
I had been looking at properties for the better part of a year. That's how I am. I get a vision, I figure out how I'm going to do it, and I just obsess until it's real. Once I was ready, once we, my wife and I reviewed our position and agreed that we are now ready to buy another property, I reached out to my friends, my network, the people that I trust, the people that are probably doing more or less the same thing in terms of either buying their own homes, buying second homes, those sort of things for a reference, for somebody who can help me on the financing side. And one of my closest friends, better part of 25 years, said, listen, reach out to Sylvia. She was super helpful with me. And she specializes in exactly what you're thinking about. It's in that respect that, I gave you a call right away, and, you're pretty responsive, and we jumped right into it. We didn't waste any time. 4 months later.
Yeah, you did not waste any time. Like between the time we chatted to the time you closed, you said it was 4 months.
4 months, actually. Yeah. No, actually less, because we started talking after the birth of our child. And he's 4 months. So it's maybe 3 months.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And how did you know, like you said something very interesting here, and then you were doing a bunch of research, you were obsessed about it. You really focused on it, right? And you really looked at that goal. How did you know you were ready?
Cash flow, the amount of debt I was carrying, or at least our family was carrying. We review it every time. We reviewed the home, the financial assets that would have had, the equity we had in the home. We looked at where we wanted to be 30 years from now. And we said, okay, we have to start here. And so the decision to do it, we had a conversation for a while, but the actual metrics, the actual math, figuring out, okay, so if we do it, what are we doing it for? Are we going after cash flow? Are you just going to speculate and just jump into real estate hoping it's going to shoot up the way it's been shooting up for 2 years? What is the value proposition? How much are you willing to buy? If you buy now, how much are you willing to spend? If you spend that much, will you be able to buy again? So there's a lot of math that went behind it. And then also the market. Where do we see value? Do we see value in the GTA? Or in the GTA you see value? Where else can you see value? Those sort of things. We sat down and literally we spoke about it every day at dinner. And, the key thing with us is just we have to act. From there, you iron out the details. You can think and analyze it all you want. Unless you act, it's difficult to narrow your spectrum of things you have to think about.
It sounds like you guys are very analytical and very knowledgeable, and you guys do your research, right? I'm a huge believer in Tony Robbins, and I love what he says. He goes, knowledge is potential power. Action is power.
Agree. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more.
So you said that you and Florian asked yourselves, like, what are you doing this for? So why are you doing this? What is your big why?
The big why for us is really fundamental. We have values. Floyd and I have written values, values that we both consider when making decisions that relate to our family and what we're going to do to propel our family. So one of the first things that we always think about is how do we propel our family forward in the future? How do we do it? How do we put our children in a position to have a stake in society, to believe that they can also propel themselves? How do we do it? How do we systematically do it? So for us, propulsion of the family, be it financially, be it intellectually, that is a value for us. And we do a lot of things, especially the things that affect our family. We look and, we kind of look back to that value and say, okay, is this something that we're doing, in relative to this value? So that's really where it comes from.
Okay. So if we were to summarize, you're basically like, these are our values and we value family, right? And we're doing this for our family and we're doing this for our kids.
Correct.
Our kid and our future kids.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. So, you live up in Newmarket.
Yeah.
And most people try to stay within their realm.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you end up buying?
Bought in Ottawa.
You bought in Ottawa. So how did you go from, do you know Ottawa at all? Or did you just do research and you're like, that's Area Z? Or how did you decide on Ottawa?
So there were two factors. On the one hand, my wife's family, and my wife's from Ottawa. She grew up there. She went to school there. She works there. And she's very familiar with it. And also my extended family, with the exception of my immediate family. Most of them are in Ottawa. So it's a place that I've gone every Christmas as long as I can remember, because that's where we spent, our time in the holidays. On the other hand, I saw value in Ottawa. I saw a city that is professional. I saw a city that's underdeveloped, that is developing. I saw a city that has space to grow outward, which to me meant that it's much easier to grow outward, at least in the way we do things in North America, than it is to go up. You don't really go up unless you've exhausted out. So to me, that meant that the land is going to continue to disappear or shrink, which meant that the value of land would go up in time. So again, I grew up in Toronto. I saw this happen. I saw the core in the city just disappear, all the parking lots, all the little things just disappear. And you could just see these things. I saw Brampton do this. You saw the suburbs do these sort of things where, land disappear or shrunk very quickly. And the values of land then suddenly jump up. And, for Canada, we are basically we're 5 cities for the whole of Canada. So I started seeing the value in what I would call secondary cities or growth cities. That's the other aspect.
Okay. You live in Newmarket. Your investment properties in Barrie. You have a lot of family in Barrie. How do you plan on managing this property?
I do have a network, just like I said, in Ottawa. I do have the network of people, some of whom are in the trades. So in terms of, I've already gotten connected with, say, a handyman, somebody who's going to go in every time to troubleshoot. I don't mind the drive once in a while. I've done it many times. So the first portion of managing it, especially now with a much tighter cash flow than, I don't think I can hire, out of that cash flow, I can hire somebody to do it for me. And I want to learn. I want to learn the ins and outs of doing it myself. So the management, the correspondence is primarily my wife and I with the tenants. And we rely on the network there to get things done in terms of jobs. There are ways now you can provide access to the property without being there. Could it be smart keys? Could it be all these things? There are lots of ways now to manage those, that kind of thing. And then we're going to install things like cameras outside for A, security, B, to kind of keep track. If you hire somebody to remove snow, you want to make sure that they did that. So there are, small, little tools that you can use right away to kind of manage the property at a distance. But there's also an element of being there, visiting, which I don't mind. I'll go out, make the drive in the morning, do what I have to do, get back in time to feed my boy.
That's beautiful. And you could also do it as a family trip as well, right? Because you have family out there, right?
Exactly.
And it's an excuse to go out and see family at the same time.
Yeah, and we are actually going there anyway we were going there a lot more without an investment, without a stake in the city. We were going there at least twice a quarter.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were already going there for family visits. So now we just go a little bit earlier.
Beautiful. So you guys are very analytical individuals. What do you guys do?
So I work as a metal trader for a recycling company, and my wife works for Health Canada in the Medical Devices Bureau.
Okay. So why did you decide to work with myself? Like, I know you got me through a referral, but did you try anybody else to try to do this on your own, like to do this by a rental property?
I guess I'd call it occupational hazard. I wouldn't, every time I engage, especially in a relationship that's managing potentially large deal, reference is key for me, because for me, that's a way of filtering a lot of noise that I would otherwise encounter having gone by myself. So that's critical. But, with that said, I messaged a few people who are also brokers, traditional mortgage brokers. And I had already gone through the route of going to the bank myself with our primary resident. So, that wasn't so interesting for an investment property for me, because the primary residence has a lot, like the acquisition of it is a lot more emotional than an investment property. The investment property, for the most part, is math.
So you're saying primary residence is an emotional process versus buying an investment property is more financial, like math numbers.
Yeah, it's much more clinical. It's much more math. So you want to engage somebody who understands that, right? Where if you go into a traditional bank, it's simple. First of all, the trip there with your wife is awesome. Your profile is there for them to see. It's a cool experience. I found that experience to be okay for your primary residence. But if you're going to go and invest, you want to get somebody who understands that, like, the interest rate that you're going for is this and this, and why you're going for it, and where's the best place for it. Somebody who has the reach, who has the visibility in the market to understand the product that you're looking for. Sometimes it's hard to articulate to somebody who's there, who doesn't want you to go anywhere else, who only has one or two options for you, at the branch level. So
basically, you're saying by working with someone like myself, a mortgage agent that understands the mentality of an investor, I'm able to help you out better than you just trying to figure out on your own at the branch level.
Exactly. I'm able to communicate something to you, understand what I'm trying to say when I use certain language. That's why we worked well together, and that's why it went so fast. You understood what I was trying to say, even if I didn't articulate it the way you'd expect.
So if you were to tell your younger self an advice or two advices or three, what would you tell your younger self?
I would say start sooner. But I did start young and I did fail sooner. But maybe I'd say start sooner, fail more.
Interesting.
Yeah. I think for the most part, real estate, I understood it when I was younger. I love business. It's just, some people get fixated on the piece of pie. Like, as soon as you start talking about business, there's where my passion is. So I love that. So in my head, I always wanted to do business. And from those proceeds, you move into real estate. But not until I started actually doing business did I realize that there are two different things and you could do them separately. And had I been as versed in terms of real estate and real estate investment when I was younger, I jumped in much sooner. Especially, I missed the boat for Toronto.
So. Miss the boat for Toronto. You know what? I hear that a lot. I hear that a lot. Miss the boat for Toronto. People repeat that over and over again. And what I always tell people, I go, you feel that you missed the boat, but in 10 years' time, are you going to say the same thing to yourself?
No, I hope not. I missed the boat. It's just like I wasn't there in time. That's just how life works. There's another boat.
Right. There's another boat.
Yeah, there's another boat. That's just the nature of it. But it was a lesson. You have to pay attention to what you missed, how you missed it. And that whole experience teaches you to look out for the next boat. What does it look like?
Basically, you're saying that, though you may feel that you missed the opportunity here in Toronto, in my opinion, I don't think you did, right? Because I still believe in Toronto. I still believe that the values in Toronto will continue to increase over time, right? But you personally feel that you missed the boat, but you're like, that's okay. I'm just going to go find another boat to go into, right? I'm going to go into a secondary market, like what you said.
Mm-hmm. You go into a secondary market, and that might allow you to jump back into the fancy market. Yeah,
absolutely. Okay, I think that's it. Is there anything else that you wanted to add to tell the audience, like, to get into the J.O.M.P program? Because you've given this a lot of thought for many, many, many years, right? And your wife is on board with you. So are there any last minute advice that you would give the audience about buying an investment property?
The things that worked for me, being on the same page as your partner, that's critical, because there's a lot of big financial moves and decisions that you are making. If you guys are not seeing it the same way, 2-3 years down the line might add stress to your partnership. The other thing that I may add is just do it. Just, think about it, visualize, think about it, measure it, make a decision that you thought through, that you're comfortable with, and just do it. Just act.
Just act.
Yeah, just act, action it. And you'll see the benefits once you're on the other side. It's challenging, but I think that is where the value is. It must be challenging. It must be a learning opportunity for it to be fruitful, for you to take care of it.
So let me challenge you on this, because a lot of people, like, I tell people to act. I tell people to do it, right? But then people are scared.
It's scary. It's scary. It's big debt. Like, all of a sudden, it's big debt. You get the sense, even if it's big, it's big debt and it's the bank that really you own your property. But what happens? The inability for you to foresee what would happen in the future. What happens if I lose my job? What happens if, if suddenly somebody needs this financial, capacity to help? What happens then? And, what do? I don't want to go through that ordeal. And that fear, and it justified. It is a scary thing to do. But what worked for me is just have the confidence that, whatever challenge that comes ahead, you can meet. You can meet, and you have support. There are ways. Call Sylvia. Right? You have support. Think about ways to make it work. That fear factor, it's a lot of money to tie up. But until you look at tying up money the right way as a good thing, the whole thing is scary to you.
Okay. So this is interesting. So what you're saying is that it's again going back to that good debt, bad debt thing, right? And it's a mindset of how you look at debt.
Correct. I think the fear comes from that. And the more people learn about debt, I was fearful of debt. When you don't understand money, or you don't learn about money and debt and the tools around derivative, all the things that have to do with money, it's scary. But the more you learn about it, the more you understand. It's like anything. It's like learning how to ride a bike. The more you ride it, the better you understand how momentum works. So I think that for the people who might be afraid of debt and big debt, learn about it. There's a lot of resources available online. There's a lot of resources. I'm a reader. I read tons. So that's where I learned through business. I learned through my everyday job and the things I'm doing to invest. I also learned technically by reading. And I think the more you learn, the less fearful something becomes.
You're a big reader. What book would you recommend if someone wanted to learn about this?
Any Kiyosaki.
Kiyosaki.
Any of his series, read them. They're good, palatable reads. You can consume them in, 5 sittings. Yeah, so they're easier reads for somebody who wants to conceptualize that and have a different perspective on it. And then from that, he refers to a lot of technical books.
Okay.
Then jump into.
Last thing before I let you go here. There is the concept of old school thinking and new school thinking about debt. And old school thinking is how I grew up, which is, do well in school, Sylvia, go to university, get a degree, get a good paying job, buy a house, save, pay off your mortgage, and then retire.
Yep.
Right. And that's what I grew up with. And that's what a lot of individuals our age grew up in, right? Well, you're younger than me, but our generation, grew up with is just get rid of debt. But then now you're saying, no, look at that as an opportunity instead.
Yeah, correct. Again, you are right. Grew up thinking that you don't want that. You really don't want that. You want a good job. You want a good company. You want to sit there and maybe go through the company, upward mobility that way, save for retirement until cash became worthless. until you having savings accounts became a bit, I don't want to say useless, but it works against you. Well, if you have savings and you're sitting on savings and maybe you get 4% back, but your inflation is 7%, you're working against you. So your cash does much less than it used to when you started earning it by the time you access it.
Got it. So you're basically saying, make the cash work harder, smarter, and better.
And better. In the future, at least looking forward, debt is a much more effective tool today than cash. But I think both work together. But I think, in a world where the response to anything is pump more money, there's lots of money available. So there's lots of cash. So that's a tool that's in the marketplace. It's going to do something.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Armel. This has been absolutely amazing. Thanks for sharing your insight and congratulations on your first purchase. What's your next plan? Are you planning to buy another one?
Yes, hopefully. now I gotta figure out how to do it. I gotta call Sylvia.
Got it.
I gotta figure out how to do it. But that's the next plan. Where else can we rinse and repeat?
Rinse and repeat. Thank you so much, Armel. This has been absolutely wonderful. Lots of good nuggets of great information and advice. Again, congratulations on your purchase.
Hey, everyone. We just heard from Armel, and his advice to those who are thinking about the J.O.M.P program is just do it. He says, visualize it, visualize that you have another property and just do it. You guys are interested in the J.O.M.P program, connect with me at sylviaho.ca. You could also go to my YouTube channel. There's a lot of J.O.M.P videos there. Watch my 45-minute webinar at justonemoreproperty.ca to learn more about how this whole program works. Hey friends, thanks so much for listening to the Sylvia Ho Mortgage Podcast. We'll catch you on the next episode. You want to learn more about the J.O.M.P program, please connect with me at sylviaho.ca. Love to hear from you. All it takes is 15 minutes for us to chat to see if this will work for you. Thanks, guys.